And in terms of our collaboration, CII doesn't stand alone in terms of looking at other organizations that we can come together with in various ways to help support research. We can partner in research, and also to look at just kind of exploring areas of emphasis, focus areas that different organizations have that we can learn from and build upon. So you see several organizations listed here. Many of you may be very familiar with the Project Management Institute from the standpoint of certifications. Another organization not listed, as just another example, is the Lean Construction Institute, one that we have had excellent interactions with over the past couple of years as we look at project delivery methodology. And we're looking again those areas of emphasis from Lean, for example, along with the areas that we emphasize in advanced work packaging, and how we make sure that when we're executing project, that we're bringing the best of what we've learned from the different approaches that have been explored and implemented on projects for some years. Next. Just kind of a quick snapshot of some logos of member companies of CII. And, we have owner member companies, which you see represented here. Certainly there are familiar companies throughout these slides. This one shows our contractors. So again, companies that are a member of CII that currently are generally, a part of the active engagement and the research team, the committees, and the various opportunities that are there for the companies to get involved. And next is the service providers. So we have owners, contractors, service providers. Those service providers you can see include some very familiar names to you of companies that have been a part of CII, many of these for years, and continue to bring insights in areas such as technology, in helping to support implementation of our best practices. So there are various ways that these companies, through education and other efforts, help to support the overall implementation and drive of success from our research outcomes. And next. We have a website that is where, as a board of advisor representative and as a key company rep for your companies, you have the opportunity to go in, log into the website, create an account, and be prepared to go in and see the resource library of research outcomes that have been put in place for years. This is CII's 40th anniversary year, so we have a significant amount of data and recommendations and research topics on all of the important disciplines that are key to project implementation success within our companies. And we're actually in the process of updating and improving our website. And by the time we get into early next year, we should be at a place where our website is even more user-friendly and more beneficial to get you to where you need to be quickly. You can see on this page that what we refer to today as the knowledge base, which again is basically the library of resources within CII, shows some of the various topics that you can get to. You can see also education, performance assessment, deployment toolbox, AWP overview. So exploring the CII website is really enjoyable because there's so much there to see and so much that's applicable to the business of each of our member companies. So keep that in mind. And one important point is that within a member company, all employees have the opportunity to go and add an account and be able to log into the CII website. So it's not just one or two or a handful of individuals from your companies that have access to the website, but any individuals that you identify that would be key for going in and being able to access the information. Make sure you don't forget that, hey, that's an opportunity you have to make sure you get the key individuals set up to be able to go in. Next. Daniel?
So we have a few items here on research, and Jen, you can go to the next slide. The engagement of the board of advisors in research is really important to make sure that we understand where you want to go, what we want to fund, and also that we are successful in staffing research teams and eventually getting those outcomes to be implemented. We do a few things. When we talk to members, and we talked to members during the spring, last board meeting, we talked about the focus areas, what we call areas of interest of CII that we would like to prioritize. So we had a workshop with members. This year, that's what that's where we landed. We said, well, there are 4 major areas that we would like to pay attention to: safety, efficiency and efficacy of capital projects, the actual adoption of best practices, and decarbonization of capital projects. So those were areas that we provided to the committees and communities working on ideas to be funded. But we also acknowledge that everything that we do normally includes these 3 dimensions, right? People, processes, and technology. Sometimes, traditionally over 40 years, we have been more focused on processes, but more and more, it's hard to detach technology from the implementation of research and people, right? Human resources and how they support processes along with technology. So, and also everything that we do, we would like to improve safety, cost, schedule, quality, sustainability of capital projects. Those are expected outcomes that we want to have when we adopt the research that we conduct. So that was something that we put in front of the board meeting of the board members in the spring. Now we go about creating projects, right? Every year, during the spring, we are asking for nominations. So you'll not see a request for nominations for research teams this fall. That's coming in the spring. But this cycle, right, creates a pipeline of projects that you see here. So in orange here are the projects that most of them were presented at the annual conference in August. So now we will start working soon with the research teams that are in purple here. And they will be presenting next year. And we just kicked off this year. So those were the requests that we put in front of the board members in the last spring meeting. It's what we call the 400 series, right? The 10, 11, 12, 13. So those in blue here are most likely being presented 2 years from now in 2025. So this is our pipeline, and the board participation is really important to keep this going, right? Always identifying what you want to do, and then once we decide that we want to do something, help to add members, staff, the folks that work for your companies, engage in these research teams, and eventually we get them to present in a conference. So we always provide an update to the board members on what we're conducting in terms of research. You always see a chart that looks like this. So expect to see that in board meetings. And currently, if you go to the next slide, Jenny. So currently, these are the teams that we kicked off this year. Most of them are full. I mean, we have some of these teams, like 411 the decarbonization research is probably the biggest team that we've had in many years. So we've been very successful in staffing. If there is a big interest from you in some of these projects, let us know. I mean, we can see where the team is, if we can accommodate a request, in ad hoc request. But that's not something that we'll normally include in the fall board meeting. Again, when we get to the spring board meeting next year, we'll be seeing formal requests to staff the new teams that we'll be funding. And that's it. So every board meeting, expect to see either the discussion on the focus areas, which direction we should be heading as we identify new ideas, or what we'll see in this upcoming board meeting is a discussion of the actual topics that we have a short list of 11 topics, ideas that we want to, we could fund all of them in principle next year. But we want to get an extra input from the board members about these ideas before we really get ready to fund them. So, your engagement at the board meeting is really important, particularly this fall, to get these topics right, to get us ready to fund initiatives that are relevant for you, relevant to your work. And thank you, Jenny.
Thanks, Daniel. So from what Daniel described, one of the things that's most important to us in CII staff as a principle is to listen well and to listen very thoroughly, very carefully to our member companies. And much of that listening happens through the board of advisor representatives of the companies. Now, there are others, like Daniel has described. You have employees who can be involved in research teams, again, committees, communities for business advancement, other types of subgroups within CII. So we have lots of opportunity to interact with your company representatives and continue to listen and to understand what are those sensitive topics, what's most important to our member companies as they look a year down the road, 2 years down the road, 5 and beyond, and really look to make sure that we're capturing as a industry organization what's most important to you in terms of what should be studied, what should be researched, what types of particular initiatives we should take, what type of education and further information do you need, and how can we best serve each other through this platform where we're bringing together, again, industry, academia, and overall bringing something better than any one of us or any one of our companies individually could do. So just about the role itself. As a board advisor and a member of the board of advisors, you have the opportunity to be a champion for CII and to build those lasting relationships that come from interacting with other board advisor and other company representatives who attend the events and who participate sometimes virtually, oftentimes in person. I can say that having been in that role myself prior to coming into this staff role with CII, being part of one of our major member company, owner company organizations, that those relationships were huge, very significant in terms of helping both the company as well as just personal professional development that comes from it. So let's keep going down. You have the opportunity to assign personnel within your company to support various CII activities, to participate in the board of advisor meetings, discussions, and decisions as the one coming up, join a committee or research team, either yourself or again, other representatives from your company who you can work with to have them be available to volunteer. You really help to drive that maximization of the benefits that come from your membership in CII. Of course, we have our annual conference, which many of the board of advisors representatives end up being the individuals who are able to attend, along with other designated representatives from their companies as well. And then from time to time, our research teams and CII overall will have surveys, requests for information that help us with our research and with our study work. And you have the opportunity to help coordinate or facilitate or lead the process within your company to actively engage with the teams that are seeking information from within CII. As a board advisor, to think about really taking it to a planning level where you can actually have a description of what your engagement plan is for your company in terms of engagement with CII. Look at where you want to engage. Obviously there's the board of advisor, and you have not only a board advisor, but each company has that opportunity to designate an alternate for when the main BOA representative may be unavailable. We have the committees. We've mentioned that word a few times. We refer to the Funded Studies Committee, the Deployment Committee, and the Technology Committee as standing committees. There are also the research teams. You just saw that chart listing the current research teams that are in flight, the ones that will be reporting out in our annual conference next year, the ones that have just kicked off this year. All of those were on that bar chart. And then these communities for business advancement, or CBAs, or the groups that, or attached typically to discipline areas such as safety, quality, project controls. Every now and then it may be around a particular methodology or best practice, such as advanced work packaging. So we have the CBAs that are an opportunity for your company representatives to engage on a frequent basis in interactions on those particular topics through these communities. Many of their events are hosted virtually, and then from time to time, they'll have a face-to-face meeting as well. So usually our board advisors take on that role of kind of helping to identify within their company who are the individuals that are available, interested, and could participate in the engagement. Someone who's going to be on a research team that's going to last a year or maybe 2 years to perform its work. Obviously, that's someone you want to identify who's likely to be available. You know, they're not going to be, having so much business travel to where it would restrict their availability. There's someone who kind of understands, has a fairly clear view of how available they can be for that engagement over the next, year to two time horizon or maybe beyond. Meeting periodically within your own company with those who you're identifying to help your company with engaging in CII can be beneficial. I mentioned I work for a large owner company member, and for a company that size to really have our own team internally where we understood what the moving parts were, who was going to engage in CII in which particular segments. That was very important. So we had a clear understanding of how we were approaching our engagement as a team with numerous representatives from the company. And of course, that changes with time as you look at, transfers, job assignments, project assignments, different things that change as time goes on. And staying on top of that as a board of advisor rep ends up being an opportunity that you could have. Okay. So what to expect at the meeting that's coming up on November 6th and 7th. Move on. So the agenda for the first day, the meeting starts in the afternoon of the 6th, so kind of a midday start. We start by, of course, just welcoming the new and returning members, approving our minutes from our previous Board of Advisor meeting. You may have caught on the fact that we generally meet as a BOA twice a year, once in the spring and then in the fall. The spring meeting often happens in the April timeframe, and in the fall, it's usually in the November timeframe as we have coming up. We look at our financials. We take a quick look at our financial report from 2023 as we're nearing the close of the year, but we also then look at our budget forecast for 2024. The founding members of CII, we're looking to recognize this year because it is our 40th anniversary year. So you have an opportunity to see which companies those are and to basically thank them for their years of support of CII. We'll give some updates from committees. We'll talk a bit about our annual conference. We just completed a highly successful annual conference in San Antonio this past August, and we're looking ahead to our 2024 annual conference and beyond. We have a program we refer to as the Joint Industry Program, and we want to just make sure we keep our member companies informed of what that program is about. So we're looking to have one of the sponsors, who is a member company representative, share a bit about that particular program. Daniel has already mentioned what ideation means to CII. That's that whole process of understanding and listening to member companies on what topics, which focus areas are important to you as a company for research and development and study. And then taking those focus areas and refining those all the way down to the point of having actual topics to assign to research teams. Well, there'll be an ideation workshop that will be a part of this BOA meeting. It'll happen in 2 parts. We'll have part 1 on the first day and the afternoon of the 6th, that Monday afternoon. And then on Tuesday morning, the 7th, that's where we'll have the second part. We'll have a brief cocktail reception at the end of the first day. That will be held in the same facility where the main meeting is. So what we refer to as the Commons Conference Center as part of the University of Texas campus. Now, if you're familiar with the University of Texas, this campus is not the main campus that's adjacent to downtown and near the Capitol. That's the main UT campus that you may be familiar with. But this campus where we hold this particular meeting is nearby where the actual CII offices are located, which is north of downtown. And it's not actually on the main campus. It's fairly convenient to get to, and also for parking and so forth. Day 2, start out with breakfast. We'll finish the ideation workshop activity. Very important to us, of course. And then we'll have one of our research teams share a bit. And this is the one that's around evaluating the implementation value of CII best practices. We'll take a quick look at what those best practices are here in a minute. We'll talk about nominations and approvals of leadership roles within CII, and then cover a few other business topics, and then we'll adjourn midday on Tuesday. So this midday start on Monday provides the opportunity for some who are within driving distance, or those who need to travel otherwise, to try to get there on Monday and to be able to return home by the afternoon of the second day of the meeting. All right, key roles for successful deployment of CII's resources and tools. So not just a board of advisor representative as something we've identified as being obviously very important for our member companies, but there are some other roles that member companies can take on. And these are some that are shown here: an implementation champion, a benchmarking associate, and an education coach. So let's just look at the first one. I'll let you read the others. So an implementation champion would be an individual within your organization who helps with deploying the outcomes from the research, the CII practices, the research outcome, deploying those internally within your company, deploying those on projects, and utilizing the tools that are available on the website or in other ways for taking the research outcomes and getting them deployed and implemented within your company. So this is a key role that actually is able to form a network. We refer to it as the Implementation Champion Network. Now, as a board advisor for your company, you may be the implementation champion, particularly in let's say, relatively smaller companies. You may not have each of these roles here that are shown on this page. But for the larger companies and for those that really get involved in the benchmarking, which you'll see in that point there, relates to an extent to our CII data warehouse, the education coach, you may have those positions as other individuals within your company that can be very important to your successful engagement with CII. But the Implementation Champion Network, again, we're really trying to emphasize that. We had a session where we brought together those individuals right after our annual conference, on the day after the annual conference in San Antonio. And we're really looking to continue to strengthen that organization, that network, and to be available so that these 17 best practices of CII are understood by those implementation champions, and they have the opportunity to really bring what their company can benefit in each of those areas that are shown here into the companies. So best practices are around topics that have been researched through the years, and the outcomes were determined to be significant enough to really validate them as a practice that would go above and beyond. So you can see everything from the one in the very middle, which is all about safety, to one of the most recent ones, which is advanced work packaging, just to the left in the middle there. All of these topics should really resonate with you in terms of realizing that, okay, for my company, these are important: materials management, front-end planning, modularization, risk assessment. Generally, these are important topics to our companies. And through the years, member companies and academics help to form research outcomes that companies are able to take on board and implement because of what you see on this page here that represents years of study, years of work, and again, some amazing research outcomes. Now, some companies have taken elements of these research outcomes and basically embedded them within their company systems and processes. Modularization may be an example. Your company may have approaches to modularization where a lot of the details, a lot of the particular elements came from the work that was done through CII. And not everyone within your company may realize that, but because CII has been around for so many years, your companies, if you've been members for some time, you've had the opportunity to take on board key parts of these research outcomes and already have elements of implementation that you're doing. Okay, next. This is just one example of a publication, a document that comes as CII is doing its work. This one is around the best practices. And so this is a guide. It includes sections on value propositions, self-assessment, references. And so these are the types of summary type documents that are available for companies as they start to look at, well, what are these best practices? You may be somewhat new to those, even though some of them have been around for some time, but to start to get an introduction to what they're about and how they can be beneficial to your company, trying to kind of understand to what extent you may already engage with some of those practices. We have resources that can help with that. Next. Educational offerings. There are a number of opportunities for member companies. There are also ways you can get engaged in helping out with some educational offerings through CII. But you can see the online learning, the executive leadership program, which is it's almost a 2 full week leadership program that's offered through the University of Texas and the business school. This is one that I had the pleasure of attending back in 2019. An excellent program, highly rated, and that's one that you certainly may be interested in learning more about if you're not already familiar with it. We have various clinics and trainings, webinars that take place, and of course we send out notifications to member companies to be able to know when these are coming up and be able to have people sign up. Registered education providers, some of our member companies are these education providers, and they're able to help provide trainers and individuals who can be involved in helping with the educational side. So what's the value of membership to your company? What kind of benefits could you and your company receive? We've mentioned a few already. Here's a brief list. Improved capital efficiency through implementation of key research outcomes. Having the deployment tool sets available for use. The industry intelligence and knowledge that come from being a member. Enhancement in methodologies that you apply. You have the forum in CII for the company to company and company to academia relationships. And then generally, those who are involved in CII are able to be typically more confident, better prepared for what it is they're doing within their companies. And there's that opportunity as well for recognition that comes from the benefits. And ultimately within CII, we actually have some awards that we present, typically annually, that recognizes key member company distinguished, providers of volunteerism. And so those are things you'll probably learn about more if you're not already familiar. This involvement in CII helps to build knowledge, leadership skills, confidence, again, industry intelligence. You build trusting relationships. When I go back and think about all of the valued relationships that I developed through CII that were not in place before, certainly our company had plenty of interaction with other companies, but in the CII network, it's really a way to develop even more very trusting and beneficial relationships. You grow the peer groups, you have the opportunity for really kind of realizing that when you're doing things through CII, you're doing those for the accomplishment, of the greater good. It's for not just your own company and the member companies of CII, but for industry overall, and very importantly, touching the next generation. I mentioned in education that there are opportunities to get involved through CII in helping support. We provide a CII best practices course in the fall each year, where we have universities from around the country who have graduate level students who are part of that course. And we teach it virtually. Students are typically in a classroom in their university location, but the instructors come from our member companies. So you in the future, you might have an opportunity to be an instructor in that type of course. Very satisfying again, you're touching that next generation of those who will be graduating and have an opportunity to put their degrees to use, supporting our companies and others in the industry. So next. So now more specifically about the upcoming events, one of which we're very focused on right now, of course, and that is the Fall Board of Advisors meeting, November 6th and 7th in Austin. Again, not on the main campus, but a bit further north in the Austin area. Then that executive leadership program, again, it's almost a 2 full weeks. I mentioned that one already. That's coming up in January. Usually the attendees, they tend to be kind of those aspiring sort of mid-career managerial candidate type individuals. It's open to anyone who would like to participate, but often that's kind of the target is those that have an opportunity to continue to grow in leadership within a company, and they have a level of experience that already positions them well to take on board a good, strong knowledge of the company and the company's business, but then to also look further at improving upon their own leadership capabilities. In the spring next year, we'll have the Board of Advisors meeting that'll come up, again, I mentioned in April, and that's mid-April next year, the 16th and 17th. Then comes the annual conference. We're currently planning for the week of July 29th, and we're working closely in the planning to work toward having that conference be held in San Diego. I mentioned San Antonio for this past August. We're looking at San Diego next year. And then, of course, that conference will be followed by the Board of Advisors meeting, which will be held November 13th, 14th, again in Austin. So you can see a good number of our meetings we actually hold in Austin. Just to touch on one of those particular programs a little bit further, the Executive Leadership Program, that's that 2-weekish course that I just mentioned. You can see a photo here of one of the classes, and you can see some photos from in the classroom as one of the previous classes was going about their work. Again, when I looked at the feedback from the course this year, it was really amazing. Students are highly appreciative of what they get out of this particular leadership program. Again, most of the instructors are from the business school at the University of Texas. I mentioned awards. Member company representatives have the opportunity to bring nominations. So you can actually nominate someone, others in your company can nominate someone for these types of awards. You can see the leadership awards listed. You can see individual awards listed. And so this is something that each year, you also see a photo here of some of the previous award winners. This is something you'll have an opportunity to keep in mind going forward. And next. If you follow CII on social media, then these are some opportunities you have here. It's all about getting engaged and really looking at all the different ways that CII is impacting industry and bringing people together in a way that's very beneficial and valuable to us all. Thanks. And last, your contacts. This is just a part of the CII staff. Our staff is it's running just under 20 people total. You met Daniel today. You can see in italics and in parentheses kind of the area that if you were interested in learning more about that particular area, you might contact that individual. So for research, Daniel. For Jenny, it's about the whole process of volunteering. It's about being a member. It's about communication around CII. Erica Corbell worked a lot with our deployment and education. So those things that we talked about that touch on the education front, Erica works very closely with as Associate Director. And then myself, from the standpoint of just overall CII organizational aspects, and governance, or any of the other topics that you see listed here, or anything else that comes to mind, I'm always available for a call or for an email, and look forward to getting to know each of you and interacting to the greatest extent. So thank you very much. That's what we had to share today, and look forward to taking any questions you may have.
Yeah, this is Fernando Espana. And Jamie, you mentioned LCI earlier. We just had an LCI Congress that we attended with very good results and discussions with Dan Hannemeyer on next steps. And I'm wondering if that conversation is something that needs to be on the agenda on how we move that relationship forward, or is that a separate session that should be set up?
Thanks for bringing that up, Fernando. I have an opportunity to bring that up as part of the content. So let's talk a little bit further and see if there's some specifics that we'd like to just bring the BOA up to speed on that. Thank you. Hey, glad to hear that it went well. That's great news.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, in fact, Dan even suggested maybe a joint conference together. So
yes.
they're interested in moving things forward.
So there's a reflection of that, let's say the friendly and beneficial partnership that CII has across the industry with other organizations that are all moving in the same direction. We're all about safety. We're all about project efficiency, about capital efficiency, about effectiveness. You know, it's something that we're all connected across. Thank you.
Yeah, and we're better together every day of the week. I wanted to note we're shameless about using acronyms. And if you go to our website under About CII, you'll find a list. In fact, I should just paste it in the chat. You'll find a list of CII's acronyms. I may even print it out and just have a few on hand at the meeting. If you need that, it'll help. Trust, it took me a good year, maybe longer, working at CII before I had a handle on the acronyms. There's industry acronyms, and then there's a whole another set of acronyms within CII. So if that helps at all, let me go ahead and paste that in the chat. I just copied it. There you go. You're welcome. It has things like, you know, we'll refer to, you saw that list that Daniel presented with the research teams, RT 400, RT, 390. RT is a research team. The numbering system, a little background there is that's in order of when the research was launched. So if you're looking at 400 series research, that was launched in our 40th year of existence at CII, so it's very fresh. So if you're looking at 380 or 370, 38th year, 37th year, and then it goes backwards. So if you're looking at something that's, RT 130, research team 130, that's the 13th year of CII's existence. We're 40 years old. So 1980 plus 13, so just kind of a point of reference there. It's an odd numbering system, but the 400 series would be very fresh content, although much of the old stuff is still very relevant today. We hear constantly. Any other questions for the team? Yeah, just
hey, Jenny, just real quick. Yeah, let me encourage everyone, particularly if you're new to this opportunity that you have with CII, to really bring your input. If someone feels like, hey, I'd really like to see CII focus on a particular topic or focus on a certain area, or I'm not sure if how much my company will benefit because we're not addressing this or that or whatever. We want to hear that. You're the one. This is a member-driven, member-led organization from the standpoint of we want to do what's best. If someone for our members, if someone asks me, well, what is CII doing in this particular area? It's often a question, well, we're doing what our member companies are really driving us toward doing, or if we don't know, it's a matter of let's listen to the member companies on this topic. Let's look at what's going to be most important to them, because that's really kind of the key to our success, is making sure that you want to be active and engaged because you can see that you're having influence. And again, this isn't just about you, me, and our companies, but it's about this generation and the next, because CII is a way to reach far beyond just what we have going on right now. Okay, good.
I'm also going to paste the link for the Communities for Business Advancement in the chat. Jamie mentioned those in the presentation, but I would say the simplest answer for anyone from your organization, if they come up to you as a board rep and said, hey, how can I get involved in any capacity in CII? That is probably the easiest point of entry. there's something for everybody there. I mean, whether you're passionate about data analytics or safety, or you want to learn what this advanced work packaging is all about and how, what's the latest in this collaboration with Lean? What's this hot topic everyone's talking about? These are groups not only for your subject matter experts, but for people who want to sit in sponge mode and learn, whether they're young and new to industry or whether they're expert on a lot of other topics and well-versed on all things industry, but need to get fresh on a new topic. This is the place. So it's a 1 hour virtual meeting, like Jamie said, minimum amount of effort and involvement, but you gain a whole lot for that hour of your time. So on any of those topics, I put the link there. You can share that with anyone on your team. I think truly there's a takeaway there for somebody in almost any company. They'll find something there. That's the easiest. And then engaging with Daniel's folks on research is a little bit more of a commitment. And that's actually something we do like the board to really help manage. To kind of, it can be a free-for-all if 5 people from your company want to join research teams. That's a lot of your resources focusing on CII at one time. So as the point of contact there for your company, we would hope that you could help oversee who is allowed to engage in the research effort, but those communities for business advancement should really be, accessible to anybody without you having to oversee participation. That's minimal contribution of time.
Very good. And of course, when individuals engage through a research team, that's an element of professional development for them. And it's also an opportunity for your company to benefit from someone being on the team, because not only are you influencing the research, the research process and the outcomes, but you have that opportunity to be taking insights, as that individual is on that journey with the research team. They're able to bring insights along the way to your company in terms of just, where they see things headed and, ideas around things that are being appropriately shared within that subgroup of CII. And so you benefit in so many ways. Again, having experience myself personally, being on research teams, being in committees, being in those communities for business advancement, going to the executive leadership program, being a participant there, I can speak very highly of what you have done to support the organization called CII and bring it into industry in the way that it is today. So once again, thanks to all of you. I really appreciate the time today. And I think this has given you a little bit of a snapshot, a little bit of preparation for what we'll be doing a week from now. And I'm really glad we were able to make it happen.
Thank you all.
I do have one quick question. I'm sorry I didn't get it. Do most people just Uber over from the airport, or is it the kind of thing that needs a car, or what?
No, you can Uber. It's a pretty easy drive. We're the closest major building to where we are is the Domain, and there's a handful of small hotels and even larger hotels in the Domain. On the website for our meeting space on the conference, it's the Commons Conference website. They do have some area hotels around there, but if you need assistance, just give me a holler and I can send you some suggestions.
The hotel's fine. I just didn't know if people rent cars.
I would Uber.
Okay, thanks.
I would Uber because you're within walking distance of, if you're at the Domain, you're good. It's walking distance to the meeting if your hotel's right around there.
Very good.
So Jenny, maybe as a follow-up email with, again, link to hotel, like to the Commons area, and also the links we pasted here in the slides.
I'll include that too. Yeah.
Of course, Austin is starting to feel a little bit of a chill this week. I haven't quite looked at exactly what the forecast is for next Monday, Tuesday, but it has dropped down.
It can't hurt to bring a jacket.
Jenny said you can walk, and I said yes, you can walk now. The thing is, like, was this August? You
That's what I'm thinking.
Walk.
You wouldn't have walked a week ago. You'd Uber across the street. It's that hot. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. Definitely bring something warm in case. Plus, those buildings are always cold. Well, guys, we are here for you. If you need us for any reason, you have our contact info. Don't hesitate to reach out. We appreciate your time. We shall see you
Thank
soon.
you all.
Safe-
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you. Thanks for your time.
you.
Safe
you
travels
very
to
much.
Austin.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.